then immediately after this, you have the discussion of elders and deacons. It's almost as if, you see, Paul is still dealing with the various bits of the church, the various clumpings, the various groups that are not acting quite right. The church is still bickering. It doesn't have things quite right. So that when Paul lays out the criteria now for elders, overseers, bishops, pastors, when you read through this list, what is most striking about it initially, it seems to me, is how unremarkable it is. There's nothing in here that says an overseer is to have an IQ of at least 120, at least tertiary education, must be a Christian for at least 15 years, or anything of that order. What does it say? It says he's not supposed to get drunk. It says he's not supposed to beat up on people. It says he's supposed to be gentle, have a good reputation. It's remarkable, isn't it? Oh, there are one or two exceptions. We'll come to them in a moment. But it's a remarkable list. It's remarkable for being unremarkable. Moreover, when you go through the list, virtually every entry there, you can find mandated of all Christians elsewhere in the New Testament. So, he's not supposed to get drunk. Does that mean the rest of us can get soused and it doesn't make any difference? He's not supposed to beat up on people, but we can? In fact, in every case, you can find out that the criteria that are mentioned are demanded of all Christians everywhere, which is another way of saying elders are, first of all, to be exemplars of the Christian graces that are presupposed as mandated on all Christians. Now, if you have a church transformed along those lines, you've got rid of all this bickering and strife already, don't you? There are really only two elements in there, maybe one and a half, that are not demanded of all Christians. The half is he mustn't be a recent convert. He mustn't be a novice. Well, you can't lay that one on brand new baby Christians. It wouldn't be quite fair. But even there, baby Christians aren't supposed to remain baby Christians, are they? They're supposed to grow in grace. But because, in fact, the Christian leader is supposed to exemplify mature Christian virtues, therefore, ideally, that Christian leader should not be brand new, not a novice. Even there, you have to be pretty careful. What does that mean? It's going to look very different in different places. When Paul goes on the first missionary journey, he gets out to the end, goes through Lystra, gets to Derbe, then he starts coming back. And we're told that he appoints elders in every place. The whole trip took something under 2 years. He's on the return swing within months at most. He's appointing elders in churches that haven't had any existence for more than a few weeks to a few months. I saw something of that in French Canada when I was growing up. Our churches were pathetically small and ridiculously enfeebled and weak until about 1972, when we grew from about 35 churches to just under 500 in 8 years. And suddenly you had churches all over the place where nobody had been an evangelical confessing Christian for more than 18 months. We call those elders. What else are you going to do? We looked for maturity as far as we could find it, and they became the mentors for new ones coming along. But in that kind of fledgling situation, that's what you do. And you try to have regional pastors to give them courses, and we started tea programs and theological education by extension and all these other kinds of things. But elder is a relative term in that sense, in the sense of maturation. But you wouldn't want to put those people in as one of the elders in College Church Wheaton or someplace like that. Nevertheless, the principle is pretty clear. The elder, pastor, overseer is above all to be a mature exemplifier of the kind of conduct and life demanded of all Christians. Then the unique element that you find in all such lists of elders, pastors, overseers is he is able to teach. That presupposes, first, the requisite knowledge, and second, the ability to communicate it. There are some people who have the knowledge but couldn't teach their way out of a paper bag. There are other ways who have a marvelous gift of communication, but really, quite frankly, don't have anything to say. To be an elder, pastor, overseer, you must be able to teach, which presupposes those two things. And what is to be taught transparently in the context of the whole book is the gospel, to the glory of Christ, the whole counsel of God, including how to live. Because you come through all of these passages, and Paul is telling Timothy, tell this person this, tell this group that, tell that group something else, tell that group something else, command the rich this, command the widows who are under 60 that, the ones that are over 60, worry about this. Do you see? So that the teaching of the whole counsel of God that they are to undertake includes the gospel, to the glory of God in the first chapter, with this great Christological song in the third chapter, with this constant recurring theme of the centrality of what it means to confess that there is one God and one mediator between God and sinful human beings, and then the outworking of all of this in the life of the church to teach the whole church how to live. That's what's to be taught. And then when we move on to the deacons, likewise the quality of their life is paramount. Some of them may well end up teaching, but it's never anywhere mandated of them. Thus you get at the end of all of this long section of argument, although I hope to come to you soon, verse 14, I am writing you these instructions, so that if I am delayed, you will know how people ought to conduct themselves in God's household, which is the church of the living God, the pillar and foundation of the truth.